surprised. It started up twice in a row without having an issue. What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. I am back with the second episode of reviewing motorcycles. If you guys didn't know, I started a new series on my channel where I'm pretty much riding the bike and giving you guys a full review, and at the end of the ride I actually rate it out of 10 in my own rating system, and it's 10 categories out of 100 points, and give this motorcycle a rating. For today's video, it's going to be my beautiful Aprilia RSV4 1100 factory. This is a 2019 model, which is the first year that 1100 factories became a thing. In my opinion, it's the best looking year. I just really like the full all black. We're gonna end up parking somewhere and I'll show you guys a little bit more about the bike and stuff like that. It just looks so clean and all like satin black, and I added a lot of all the glossy carbon I added, of course. But yeah, the second bike I review, and I'm doing the Aprilia right now after I did the M1000RR in the first series, because I feel like this one, the M1000RR, and after that I believe I'm gonna try to do the Fireblade, because they're all within that similar range. They're around that like 25. Well, technically that's a lie. The M1000RR is like $40,000. It's a lot more than the Aprilia and the Fireblade. The Aprilia is the cheapest one actually, coming at around like $25,000. Prices are obviously like just MSRP without like fees or taxes and stuff like that, or dealer markups. So based on MSRP, technically this is the cheapest one, and I definitely think it's one of the best like value for the buck bikes. Now I did say that about the M1000RR, but as I said, that bike is a lot more expensive. If you're getting the base S1000RR, then I would say the value for that bike will be better than this one. Should we start off by addressing the elephant in the room and giving the title of the best sounding motorcycle to the Aprilia? What do you guys think? I'd like to think that the RSV4 1100 factory, or Aprilias in general, with those V4 engines, the original V4 engines, before even Ducati did the V4 engines, I believe are some of the best sounding ever. The only bike that comes close to how unique and beautiful the Aprilia sounds are the R1s with that crossplane engine. Listen to this beauty. The tone is so nice, deep, but at the same time like the rumble you hear from it. And now listen to these pops, like come on. I would also like to tell the people that this is one of the fastest motorcycles. I'm pretty sure they're rated at like around 217 horsepower or something ridiculous like that, which is pretty significant. Just a third gear pull like that, and you can see like how powerful this motorcycle is. I'm seeing a lot of people do top speed reviews with it, or top speed runs, and they get to like crazy high speeds with this bike. In my opinion, it's one of the easiest bikes to ride, as well as the BMW. That's why I kind of wanted to do them back to back, because I feel like they're so different, but they ride somewhat similar. It's a smooth bike. It's super easy to just kind of like clean throw around, no struggle whatsoever. Now this motorcycle is far from stock as well. It has a 3/4 exhaust. It doesn't have actually a full system, a 3/4, so it does. I looked at this side while the exhaust is on this side. So pretty much the cat is gone. There's a decatted, straight piped bike, titanium SC Projects exhaust. I have the velocity stacks on it, an air filter, and of course tuned by BT Moto. And so yeah, this bike is not stock by any means, but that's how the bike should be, in my opinion. The velocity stacks might be like a step extra, but it's nothing major. That's like, it's not like engine work or anything like that, you know what I mean? It's kind of like just bolt-on stuff and stuff. Oh my, yeah, sounds so good. if you guys notice from that, like I left the wheelie control on. When you come back up, the bike kind of like slams you back down. It's not as smooth, it's not as gradual as like the Ducati or the BMW, but they're there. I don't know if I would trust the electronics as well on this bike. I definitely feel like I would have to be on top of what I'm doing on the bike. I can't just kind of blindly trust it like some of the other bikes. So it definitely loses some points when it comes to the technology. But also makes up to a lot of points when it comes to how fun of an experience this bike is. Even if you're going fast, the sound of the bike is just in the back of your head. Like, it's just such a big part of the experience. The bike feels solid in turns. Power-wise, it lacks like no power whatsoever. This bike can go forever, it feels like. It just has like such long gears, but also like it doesn't take forever to get to these high speeds at the same time. So it has both acceleration and top end. In my opinion, the Aprilia, and here I am leaking some gas, my quick release gas cap. It did not do that before. I think I must have missed a seal or something like that. And now that we were mobbing a little bit, gas started to leak out. So let's clean up my tank a little bit so we don't damage this beautiful paint. It's such a vibe to ride this bike. If you want a badass, underrated, low-key, but if you know type of bike, most people probably wouldn't know or recognize it, but when they hear it or see it take off, they're gonna fall in love. I vividly remember my first time hearing an RSV4. It wasn't even the 1100 factory, it was just a regular RSV4, which is 100 cc's less than this one, starting up with a similar exhaust, and I was just obsessed. I was like, oh my god, what is that? Can you blame me? I see I'm looking around and I'm seeing the people in the cars and their heads are just turning. Of course, it comes with an auto blipper up and down. That is not the smoothest. It has the tech, it just doesn't perform flawlessly like some other brands. You know what I mean? Like it's not in the top when it comes to tech. And I think, oh my god, I was gonna say that's its biggest drawback, but then I give it a little bit of gas and I hear it and I'm like, what drawbacks am I talking about? They all go out the window as soon as I hear it and feel how not only like powerful this bike is, it sounds powerful, it feels powerful, but it's also like smooth at the same time. I also did manage to check my tire pressure before we went out today to make sure I give good feedback about the control and feel on this bike. I would say one thing, once you're going like higher speeds and stuff like that, if the roads are all smooth and good, the bike feels amazing. Keep in mind, this is technically like their race bike, the 1100 factory. That's why they don't come with electronic suspensions, so you would have to adjust them manually, and that can be good if you have like, let's say you get this bike and it's specifically for the track or specifically like for the streets and you're not going to hit any canyons or any turns or anything like that. So sure, that's not bad when it comes if you're just doing that. But if you're the type of guy that wants bike that does it all type of thing, it is a little bit of a drawback, because I do feel the difference. It's nice for just what we did today, you know what I mean, like mainly cruising, sped up a little bit, stuff like that. And with those, the auto electronic suspension comes very handy because you do feel the difference. Like right now, if I'm just cruising around, it'll feel like way smoother, and if I'm like going harder, I don't really know how the technology on that works, but I feel it. The bikes that I have electronic suspension on them, I definitely feel the difference. That being said, I also have bikes such as that 1000RR that we reviewed and my V4R that don't have electronic suspension, so it's manual just like this bike because they're also race bikes. I had to a little bit in here. Some of these bikes do not have that electronic suspension, but at the same time, they still feel a little bit better than the Aprilia. For whatever reason, when I'm riding this bike, it just doesn't feel the most
stable, especially in low speeds. Somehow when it's on its side, like in corners and stuff like that, it feels great, as long as the road is smooth. As I said, if it gets a little bumpy or anything like that, that's when it's like, maybe it's like not the smoothest. It's not horrible, it's not like really bad. I've ridden bikes that are pretty bad. As I said, this suspension is also adjusted. Before I got that adjusted, it was actually not great at all. I would say a big drawback is, like, let's say the road gets really bumpy, because my suspension is a little bit more on the stiffer side. I feel like every single bump, and at some points when it's like a long ride, it's literally have hurt my back. Like my spine feels like it's getting compressed because it's like so stiff, and it's just like bah, 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 bah. That looked wrong, but you get what I mean. But yeah, it's a track bike. I mean, look at it. Hashtag be a racer, Aprilia racing, Aprilia racing. It's just like everywhere, you know what I mean? This bike, I feel like, is designed to be taken to the track, so it gives it more of that track feel vibe over the M1000RR, because that bike, I feel like, yeah, sure, it's a track bike, but also not a lot of people are gonna spend up $40,000 to have a dedicated track bike. So they did a mixture of both. With this thing, I don't think they really cared too much about that. There is one feature that I didn't show you guys while I was riding, but it does have cruise control. I think if you don't have cruise control and it's your first time and you get cruise control, you're gonna love it. So you'd probably think it's really cool if you're going on long distances. Sure, you might use it here and there, so you can like relax your wrist a little bit from being on the throttle for long distance and stuff like that. Overall, it's not the most user-friendly, I would say. Like, let me show you the dash. Everything looks great, looks clean. The new ones have an updated dash. I don't think it's like, it's just preference at that point, because this is already full color, like an LED screen, a display that, in my opinion, looks good and still looks like modern. I definitely like this. Look at this live lean angle. I don't know when you're going to be using it, but the fact that it has it is really cool. So it does have some sort of technology. I think the BMW did it better, where it shows you your max lean angle instead of just showing you that. It also shows you your brake and throttle, so if I'm on the brake, you can see it increasing. I think this could be beneficial for like in track use, because you can see how much you're applying brake, even though I think it's like all feel and throttle as well. It does have cool features here and there. As you saw, I'm riding in track mode, which I have no idea why I'm doing, even know how to change it. So that goes back to my point, where I feel like it should have been a little bit more user-friendly. You do have the plus and minus right here, so you can change your traction control on the fly, which is nice. A lot of people, I mean, including myself, I didn't know that existed. So I have the plus and minus here, so you can literally change it on the fly when you're going. But as you saw, it's not the most user-friendly. It doesn't feel as finished, as premium as some of the other bikes. Yes, Aprilia is a smaller brand. It's not as big as some of the other brands. It's kind of an underdog, but I happen to like underdogs. I think it's a fun bike. This is what I mean by a 3/4 exhaust. So all of this right here to the headers is OEM, and you can see the headers in here as well. They low-key kind of look like they could be titanium, but I'm not sure. Do not quote me on that. This bike did come with a decent amount of carbon, so that was OEM. The front fender, the wings, all OEM carbon, which are major plus points, especially in my book, because I love carbon and I love when bikes have wings as well. I think it makes them look really cool. Not against not having wings, but it's like an extra feature that makes it look good. And the wings on this one definitely look really cool. I think they look a lot better than the newer generation wings. The new generation and this generation ride very similarly. They make the same power, same everything. I would say though the newer generation does have slightly better technology. It doesn't feel that much better, because I have ridden that one. Maybe one day I'll do a separate review on one of those if you guys like and enjoy the series. But I would say the looks of this generation looks a million times better in my opinion. The tail design, how aggressive these lines are, those look like military choppers. But yeah, OEM quick shifter. I did end up switching it to GP shift. They don't make it the easiest. I couldn't switch it to GP shift. I didn't have to buy a full rear set, which is nice, but I did find this attachment online that allows me to switch it to GP shift. That's why the shifter is up here and not down here. Getting parts for this bike is not the most fun. It was definitely pretty hard finding parts for it, because it is a smaller brand. It is more rare, limited, and all that good stuff. So buying parts on it isn't the most fun. It has a reputation of being not the most reliable. I've had it for 1.5 years now, coming up to 2 years since I've owned this motorcycle, and so far the only issue that I've had was the SAR issue. Now they did tell me to check my oils more frequently, and I haven't. Fun fact is that this is actually a dipstick for the oil, so I do need to check the oil more, but it should have a window too for the oil. It has to, all bikes do, unless it doesn't, and that's the point of the dipstick. But yeah, no, this doesn't seem to have like a window for you to check the oil, which I just discovered, which also explains the dipstick that I'm just talking about. A little bit of a bummer because, as I said, I do like to check it visually. Not the easiest finding parts for these bikes. At the end of the day, they are kind of like those rare limited bikes. You rarely even see those. Like, I don't think I've seen, I might have seen just one other one that is just like mine. That's not even a guarantee. I've definitely seen the 2020 versions, which I do think are pretty. They're kind of like the same color, but they have like BMW, so they do have some of these like pretty colors, which I do like, but this just looks so clean and so pretty in all black. I would say though, when it comes to the looks, yeah, they look cool, but they're kind of like, as I said, low-key. They're not the bikes that are like loud and, you know, bougie, kind of like the BMW and the Ducati. It is an underdog, as I said, but it's fast, very smooth and easy to ride. I love the styling of this thing. The tank design right here, you see how it's like curved inside? It allows your legs to fit really nicely under this thing. It just feels, for a wide bike, it feels like you have more control. I definitely think Aprilia did amazing, and as soon as I heard one in person, that's when I knew I needed to get one of these. Little did I know that they're also insanely fast and amazing track bikes. Now, I did have the thought of making this my dedicated track bike, but because I've bought a lot of carbon fiber for it, so this piece, anything that is glossy, this piece right here, this right here, this piece right here, chain guard over here, the bottom one as well in carbon. I was like, I know I got a few more, but pretty much, you know, like, I made it a pretty bike, and because I got it pretty much brand new and it's in a clean condition, that's why I'm like, I don't want to ruin it, because usually if you go to the track, there's a high chance of crashing, and I didn't really want to risk ruining this beauty. And also because, as I said, it's harder to find parts on it, and I've heard a few things about reliability issues. This is the issue. I at least did it once because I did want to do this so you guys can see, but it's pretty much right when I got the bike, it had this issue. We thought it was a battery issue. We replaced like the battery 2-3 times. We put a lithium battery in the end, and still nothing. So it's not really a battery issue. It feels great. Comfort wise, I would like to talk about that, because somehow it has such a comfortable riding position. I feel like I'm sitting in the bike, not on top of the bike. Especially with this tank design, it just gives you like a really good solid feel, comfortable and in control of the bike at the same time. It does have character. It does have that like V4 rumble and sound. It feels too light to throw from one side to the other, but not in like a good way where it's like flickable, but more in a sense where it's like not giving me the most stability and feel when I'm riding this thing. It doesn't feel as planted as some of the other bikes, and I know the technology isn't as good as some of the other bikes, which is why, oh my, see, every time I talk, as I try to say something, I just hear it or it pops and I'm like, oh my, that sounds so nice, and I just forget about all the negatives that comes with this bike, which I think is one of the best thing about it. It's like such a vibe to ride this thing that it makes you forget about like the minor negatives that I have. That, yeah, it might be like not the most reliable. If I forgot to continue telling you guys what happened, but pretty much we think it's a fuel pump issue. I've taken it to many places, we've replaced the battery. Nothing really seemed to resolve the starting issue. At the end of the day, it does start. It does give me a hard time sometimes, and sometimes it could be a little embarrassing if the bike is not starting, but you just try it 2-3 times and usually it starts and it's all good. When the road is smooth, the bike does feel amazing and very, very flickable, but for whatever reason, like something about it, like when you're right around like that area, when you're leaning more, so when you're already like at an angle and you're going, it feels good. When you're straight, it feels good, but when you're kind of like in that like transitional period, that's when it feels like almost too light. I feel like it's just gonna like slide out. So if you're all nice and smooth, and if the road is really smooth and good, then this bike feels great. But if you're kind of like hammering on it, like I feel like I can't be as much of a hooligan on this thing if I did take it to the track. I mean, I did experience that when I went to the Canaan. I just felt like I have to take it easy, and I couldn't just like smash on it like I do
on my Yamaha or my BMW.
That being said, it's such a fun bike to ride. It's for those people that want to be different. They don't want to be like everyone else, get a Ducati or get a BMW. They want the underdog that still performs. Yeah, might be temperamental, might have some starting issues or reliability issues. Again, I've had it for about 2 years now. I haven't put the most amount of miles on it, so I can't tell from experience right away, because I have multiple bikes and I ride a lot of them. So it's just like, the thing about this bike is that like when it's in the garage, it's not the bike that is drawing me to it, that I'm like, oh, I need to ride this today. And now we should go to the scoreboard and see how this bike ranks up.
Alright, so for my Aprilia RSV4 1100 factory, we're going to start with style. I give it 9 points. Sound gets 10 points. For the speed, it gets 9 again. Tech, 7.5. As I said, that's one of the weakest points of the Aprilia. Handling gets an 8 out of 10. Ease of ride and comfort are similar to the M1000RR. Build quality is an 8 as well. For fun and character, it gets an 8.5, mainly because of the sound and the experience that gives you. And value is a 9, given that it's a top-of-the-line motorcycle for $25,000, which brings the total to 86.5 points. Just 1.5 points behind the BMW M1000RR, which is a very respectable score, given that the BMW is about $15,000 more than the Aprilia. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know which bike you'd like to see me review next of my collection, or if you have a bike that you would like me to review that is yours and you're local, then reach out to me on Instagram and let me know what bike you would like me to review. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please drop a like and subscribe. I'll catch you guys in the next one.